Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 2 of the prequel, and this one is titled Discovered. That night remained dry, and your dad bunkered down under a large mushroom to sleep for the night, using some soft grasses as his bed and a large leaf to snuggle in under, lest a forest creature find him particularly interesting and food-like, and wanting to have a small taste of him to see what he was. And your mum slept well, new dry sheets on her bed and her previously wet clothes all dried and packed away again. The clean out of her caravan had been good. It gave her a chance to tidy up a little and give the inside a good scrub down. That next morning, your mum was up early inspecting the earth around her caravan, and although it was still a little muddy in places, it was better than yesterday, and she softly walked around barefoot to inspect how her caravan had fared. It had held out well, but the large spoke wheels were more than half covered in thick mud and had sunk quite a lot into the ground before it had started to harden. I should probably try and dig it out, your mum thought, climbing back into her caravan to grab a shovel to try and dig her wagon free so she could keep moving. Starting with one of the back wheels, she started digging into the soft earth with her shovel, only to watch with horror as the soft earth filled in quickly from where she had tried to dig her caravan free. Oh, she thought as she stopped and stood back, watching the earth swallow her wheel up again. This will not do. Perhaps I should try and find a wheel that's stuck in more dried dirt so that I can move it more readily. Walking to the front of the wagon, she checked the status of the wheels there and found the front left one appeared to be stuck in earth that was more dry, so she attempted to dig it out, only to find the earth underneath was still sodden and it sank in as soon as she started to dig in it. Your mum stopped and sighed. Well, she thought as she stood back, best I set up to stay here for a few weeks until the earth is completely dry and I can dig my way out properly. Not stressing about her situation, she walked back to the back of the caravan and climbed in and grabbed 2 trays of plants that she had been growing on the trip. They were larger now and were looking like they needed to be transferred to a larger pot before they got root-bound. The ground is good for planting, she thought as she found a spot a little way from the caravan and felt around to see what part of the ground was softest. And then there, she knelt down and dug gently into the ground with her bare hands, digging little holes to tenderly place her young plants into. There, she thought with a loving smile as she sat back after finishing planting and looked at the little plants all lined up in the soil. Figuring they would need some water, as would she at some point, she left them there and grabbed her pail and water-lined gemstones to search for water nearby. Your dad woke with a yawn and stretch, his hair all over the place as he sleepily looked around, trying to work out where he was. The previous few days' events came flooding back to him, and his neutral face faded into sadness as he pushed the leaf off him and stood up. I should maybe head to a village of humans, he thought sadly, not really wanting to head into the world of humans, but not seeing that he had any other choice. I should bathe first, though, he thought sadly as he looked around, and then jumped into the air, enjoying his fairy form before he felt like he would have to abandon it. I'll bathe in the stream, and then head to the next village. And with that he headed off to the closest water supply. As he flew, he kept an eye out for anything or anyone suspicious. He was still worried that the royal guards would come for him. He believed that his family had now found out about his crime and were out to behead him. He also worried that the fox Faerie would come for him herself and do something else to him. He wasn't sure, but he was just paranoid and still shaken from what had happened. Gingerly approaching the stream, he flew down low and landed on the earth there, waiting and watching before turning into a human, but before he switched forms he felt vibrations in the earth and stopped himself. Looking around, he backed back up against a young fern and waited. The vibrations felt like they were a little distance away, but he didn't want to risk anything, so he stayed hidden. After a while the vibrations disappeared and he waited again. What was that? Was it an animal? A human? It felt like it was bipedal, he thought, before turning into a human and looking around. He didn't see anyone and so slowly walked into the water and washed himself, dipping his head back and washing his hair in the water as well. Once he had washed as well as he could, he stepped out of the water and turned back into a fairy and started to fly again, making as straight a line as he could towards the nearest human village. The forest started to get thicker as he flew, and he had to duck and weave a little to avoid some trees that had come down in the storm the day before. This is rather hard going, he thought as he flew under a half-fallen tree. He wasn't sure if it was a sound that drew his attention or whether it was just a feeling, but he felt like someone was near and quickly hid himself in the thick of a bush nearby. What is it? He wondered, waiting to see what would appear, but nothing came by. Maybe I need to explore, he thought as he dropped lower to the ground and flew slowly along, checking everywhere around him. As he made his way along, he came to a small clearing, and ahead he saw movement. Hiding quickly, he peeked out to see what was there, moving beyond the edge of the trees, and saw it was a human, a female human. But what was she doing? He slowly moved to a position where he could see her better and sat down on a small twig to observe her. She was watering some plants. He watched her slowly tending her young plants, and then she put some food together for herself. What is this human woman doing? He wondered, trying to make sense of what she could be doing out here deep in the woods by herself, tending to plants and generally enjoying herself. After watching her for a bit, he moved around and observed her from a different angle. This angle allowed him to see her caravan as it was stuck deep in the mud. He could also see that she had tried at some point to disturb the soil and dig it out, but had apparently given up. He wondered as he left silently and flew off to find some food for himself. I don't know much about humans, but this one doesn't seem like the rest that I've heard about. Curiosity kept getting the better of him, and he kept coming back to watch this female human go about her day, and found himself marvelling at how she held herself and appeared quite capable at everything that she did. She was also very pleasing on the eye, and he found himself finding more and more positions to watch from where he could see her face and eyes. She had such a calm way about her, and it really drew him in, but at that point he dared not show himself in human form. What would I say to her if I were to reveal myself in human form? He wondered as he flew off a little way to find a place to sleep for the night. Suppose I would scare her. I wouldn't want to do that. And with that final thought, he bunkered down for the night and closed his eyes. Your mum stood up and took a deep breath in. I can't feel the presence anymore, she thought, as she stood up from tending her plants and slowly looked around in between the bushes and trees nearby. I've felt it on and off all day. It's not a bothersome presence, but it's quite noticeable. I haven't heard any sounds, so I'm inclined to believe that it is a creature or being that's used to being in the forest, she thought as she walked to her caravan. I wonder if it will come back tomorrow. That's a very good question, Mum. We'll have to stay tuned for tomorrow to see if the presence does come back again. I will see you tomorrow for part 3.